Next, we will continue with the types of the slices. So yesterday we discussed about the slices, right? The text slices, and even we discussed about the number slices and date slices. And the text slicer, the default display option is list. You can use drop down. Drop down will save the space, especially when you have more number of products and more number of categories. Scrolling down, and again it occupies more space. There is no point in using list, right? So because already you have less than 10,000 products, right? So even if you how much so you cannot how much you can resize it, right? It will accommodate a lot of space here, hence you need to resize it. But if you want to scroll right, if you want to see the specific product, you need to scroll down in the case of 10,000 products when you have it. Similarly, the category, more number of category and more number of products, you need to scroll down. Instead, in that case, you can go for drop down. Okay, but still this one looks user friendly. The we, as I shown you here, right? So using the search option, you can search it. Okay, at least whatever the products or categories that are visible, you should be able to go and select it directly here, right? So with this one, and the drop down, only these two options are list and drop down when it comes to text slicer. The next one is the hierarchy slicer. Yesterday we discussed about hierarchy slicer. We can create hierarchy in the slicer. That is also possible. For example, in one go, right? So you don't have to have two different slices, and category and product you can have it in a single slicer. For example, if you select X, right, automatically it filters the category and the product slicer. You don't have to have two different slices here. Okay, but again, having two different slicer is helpful. I'll discuss about that later. Okay, so at this moment you just think it is possible to create hierarchy in a slicer, and this is numeric slicer. Okay, here I just use the cost price here. The default one is between. So when you use the default display as between, you can find something like slicer. Just by extending it or reducing the size, you can change the range of the cost price. Based on the range of the cost price that you choose it, the visuals in this report page, right, I will get refreshed automatically. So I'm going to clear this for the time being now. And if you explore here, right, if you go, let's go and explore what are the other display options are available. List is common here, and the default display option is between in the case of numerical slicer, and you have drop down is there, and less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Different options are available, but between is the default one. I know this is with slider you can make a selection, right, by just by extending it or reducing the size. You can make a choice. Okay, and the next one is date slicer. In the case of date slicer, I just go and increase the size in order to view the options here. Here it is a little bit different. So before, after, list is available, drop down is available, excluding these two, and after and before, but default one is between, like a numeric slicer, and before is something like this. If you use before, so it's something like that. Okay, before 15/4/2021, whatever data we have it, you filter it, right? So it's something like less than or equal, right? So less than or equal to 15, something like that. Okay, so before, and you have something else called after, and the next one is, for example, after is something like if I say so I want to filter on or after, right? So let's say if you filter, if you see here, you can understand is on after, right? So is on after on 20th March or after 20th March, whatever data is there, you filter it. That is what this after is all about. And the next one is a relative date. Relative date is a cool feature. Here you can see if you want to have days, here you have some days, weeks, and months, years, and calendar weeks and calendar years are available here. Okay, if you want to see the last 10 days sales, you can specify the days in numbers, years in numbers. Okay, So this is a cool feature. Okay, you don't have to specify the year. You don't have to select and all, right? The selection headache and all, not it's not there here. Last 10 years, last 5 years, and if you are very specific about the date range, then better you can go for between. The default one is between. You can go for this one. And then we have something else called relative size filtering and relative time filter. So for the date we have a slicer. Similarly, if you are dealing with time related data for the last 1 hour, last 2 hours, something like that, right? You have time slicer is also available. Okay, since we don't have time related data here, right? So I'm not using it here. And this one, relative size, right? Relative size, relative slicer, okay? Relative response slicer. That is another type. You can increase or decrease the size of this one, and also with the formatting options like orientation, you can change the orientation as horizontal. Okay, once you convert the horizontal, you can maximize the size or minimize the size. Instead of having it in two lines, right, you can have it in a single line, and you can probably, if you have more number of locations, you can reduce the width. Since you reduce the width, only two locations are visible, and but this one is available. The scroller will get enabled automatically. When you click on this, it will show the remaining one. Okay, it will get scrolled. Okay, this is called responsive slicer. Okay, next we will understand the limitations of slicer. What we can do with slicer, what we cannot do with slicer. You cannot pin a slicer to a dashboard. You cannot see dashboard. We can create it on Power BI Cloud only. What is the difference between dashboard and report? Dashboard will have only one page. Reports, you can have any number of pages. Let's call this as a report. Whatever we see it, we can see multiple pages here. We can say it is a report. But dashboard, will have only one page in it. It will display all the KPIs and then the important visuals, right, which can be helpful for the C-level or top-level executives to gain a quick insight, right? So that is the one, summary level kind of thing. You will get it. So that's the only single page, whereas report will have multiple page. You cannot, copy a slicer from your report to your dashboard. Okay, so that is what pin. Pin is something like copying a slicer from your report to dashboard. You can copy the line chart, all the visuals, right, to your dashboard, but you cannot copy the slicer to your dashboard. Instead of saying copy, we use the term pin. Yes, what do you mean by both we can do in real time, report and dashboard? Both we can do in report and dashboard. What do you mean by real time, Radha? I did not get you. Radha asked a question. Both we can do in real time, report and dashboard. I did not get you. What do you mean by both we can do in real time? Yeah, report you can develop. Oh, you mean to say the cloud, right? In cloud we can develop. You mean to say cloud, right? In cloud we can develop a report. So we can, right? So once you publish the data and everything, you can create a report on cloud, and also you can create a dashboard there. Okay, but you cannot do data model design on cloud as of today, right? So today is 27 February 2022. So as of today, there is no support, or there is no feature available on Power BI Cloud service to create data model design. You can create report, you can create dashboard on Power BI also, but you cannot pin a slicer to your dashboard from a report, right? You cannot do that. There is no drill down capability enabled on the slicer, and you cannot do visual level filter for Power BI slicers. Using slicer specific visual alone, you cannot filter it. Okay, when you filter, when you apply a filter, this one will be applied to all the visuals, but this one is different. Okay, this is a card visual. Here I have used the DAX function, wherein I removed the external filters, all the filters. There is a function called all, using which I removed it. Hence, it shows it remains static. Okay, but in general, right? So the using when you apply a filter using a slicer, it will be applicable to the entire report page. But you cannot apply a filter only to a specific visual. That is not possible. And you cannot input fields in Power BI slicers. Like column from examples, we have seen it in the past. Column from examples, right? You can input the value, you can type it there, but you cannot input any value to your slicer. So these are the limitations with slicer. Okay, the next question is where can I place the slicer in a report? So you can place a slicer on the left side. So I'll show you how to create a slicer panel, okay, in order to save the space. See, in this case we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slices are there, and 7 slices are there, right? It all scattered here and there. So, and you can probably keep it something like this, little above, and with by using proper nice background color and all the things, right? You can design it well. And you can have this one, you can create some slicer panel, and you can create a menu. When you click a menu, the slicer panel should get displayed, so that you can save a lot of space and you can accommodate some other visuals. By saving space, right, we can accommodate some other visuals, something like this, right, in the report page. We will see to that a little later. And the next one is filters. Okay, and we have something called filters pane. Okay, using filters pane, we can apply the filters to a single page, for the entire page, or across all the pages, or a specific visual. For example, I just I selected this visual. Now I unselected it. If you see here under the filters pane, you can locate the filters pane just left to your visualization pane. By default it is collapsed. If you want to expand it, you can click on the less than sign, so it will get expanded. So here you can see the filters on this page, filters on all pages here. Okay, so whatever filter you filtering criteria that you specified here, it will get applied to the entire page. All the visuals, it will be applied for the entire page, and filters on all pages. So this one, whatever the column that you drag and drop it here, or whatever the filtering criterion that you specified, that one will get applied to all the pages. Okay, now we'll start with understanding the difference between filters on this page, filters on all pages, and filters on visual. Using filters, we can apply filter to a specific visual. For example, a simple example, I just take this one, category and sales amount. Yes, so I just selected this visual. The moment when I selected a single visual, automatically the filters on this visual got enabled. For example, if I go and select somewhere outside, in the empty space here, it got unselected. If I select this one, look here, I selected more than one visual, but filter on visual, that option got disabled, right? Disappeared actually. So at a time you can apply a filter to a single visual only with this option, filters on this visual. I just selected this visual. You can select whichever visual you wanted. Okay, so for example sake, right, for understanding sake, I just selected this one randomly. So here in this visual, what columns that we, category and sales amount, right? Category and sales amount is visible here. And here if I go and expand this one by clicking the down arrow, you can see three options here. Only basic filtering, and you will find some, if you select on this, you will find three options within this filters pane. For the filters on this visual section, you can find three types of filters. Okay, basic filtering, advanced filtering, and top end filtering. We'll start with the basic filtering. Okay, I just select beverages and dry fruits and frozen foods. So now whatever the selections I made it here, the related data got updated or refreshed only in this visual. The rest of the visuals were not affected. If you watch other visuals, when I make an additional selection here, right? So only this visual got impacted by this selection. Rest of them are not. It is not applying to all the visuals in this page, only to this visual, because we have used this option filters on this visual. If you want to apply a filter to a specific visual, you can go and do it, but this is manual way of doing it. Even slicer also manual way of doing it, but the end users, there are two types of users. One is the designers, report designers like us, right? We are the one, or this is meant for basically developers like us to test some functionality, something like that. You can go and test it, and you can do filtering, everything you can do it. But for the end users, they do not know report development in depth. They are not tech savvy. So in that case, slicer is the best option for the end users or the report users. This is meant for developers or designers. Okay. Now we understood what is filters on this visual, right? So the next one is, within this filters on this visual, we have two more options are available. Let us use advanced filtering. So when you use advanced filtering, you can do Boolean filtering. Here, if you see here, you can see contains, does not contain, the category, right? Category, the category is, or category contains, or does not contain, starts with is not blank, is empty. Supposing you have some blank values here, you can use is not blank. Got one is not blank, or is, let's say, I want to exclude something like does not contain dry fruits. Okay, it should not be blank, and exclude the blank and exclude dry fruits. Okay, and look here, multiple conditions and or, right? So you can apply the complex filtering also, Boolean filtering. Okay, now if I apply the filter, we will see what happens on this visual. Frozen foods, frozen, so here is, right? Okay, or is frozen. Okay, here I should have used does not contain. Let's say does not contain frozen foods. I just and apply this filter. Or is dairy. Okay, here okay, dairy, keep the dairy and exclude frozen foods, and it should not have any blank values. Okay, let's say and here, sorry, here I should have used and does not contain, right? Is not blank and does not contain fruits, or right? So and okay, if I use does not contain, okay, it contains like this, right? So okay, let me do one thing. Contains, we'll use contains here for the sake of conducting one specific test. Dry fruits is a category, and does not contain, let's say, dairy. Here I'm not I'm not, one second. Does not contain dairy and does not contain frozen foods. Okay, I don't want to use this one. Let me do that. I just clear it. Some confusion happened here. Contains, let me do a thing. Contains dairy. And so I want to see only dairy. We will go step by step. Okay, dairy. Apply filter. Okay, let's do apply filter. only dairy got filtered here. And if you want to do something else, right, you can go and apply, and does not contain dry fruits. What will happen now? So contains dairy, does not contain dry fruits. So it should have dairy, and it should not have dry fruits. Exclude dry fruits. That's what we are saying. Okay. So here there is no point in specifying this one. Okay, just to show you, right, what all the different combinations of filtering that you can apply. You can do it. So now on top of this, if I go and select dairy here, see now this one, see when I apply side by side, what happens? So this one already we applied it. When you try to do this in parallel, what happens here? It takes a lot of time. Look here. So of this filtered one, again I apply the slicer also, right? Using slicer also we apply on whatever the items that we filtered using the filters pane advanced filtering. On top we apply this one, right? We can have the combination of this one also. So when I unselect it, let us see what happens. Yes, it removed the dry fruits. Okay. The best way is you can check it here. So what I do is I just, yeah, so I should have done it that time. Okay, anyhow. If you go here, see, this is the way we can confirm it. Contains dairy or does not contain dry fruits. And this filter is coming from this one, slicer. So slicer as well as filters, right? We can combine both, right? So it got combined. With the combination of this also we can do it. And I just remove this. Fine. The next option is top Pane. We will explore top Pane here. Show items. I want to see the top 2 items, top 2 categories, and add data fields here. Okay, add data fields here. And what I do is I just go and select the sales amount. Show me the top 2 products, top 2 selling categories. Show me top 2 selling characters based on the sales amount. The size, with the size of each slice for these two, right? With that itself we can make it. So 3,375, 2,009. So these two are top selling categories. And similarly, if you select here, you can see bottom 2 selling products. So you can select top 2, bottom 2, top 5, bottom 10. So whatever the requirements, right, based on which you can specify top 10 customers, top 50 customers, right. So everything you can select it here based on the amount spent, based on the number of purchases, count of purchase that they did it, right. So you can do it using this one. And also, right, so yeah, so here now you understood basic filtering, advanced filtering, and top n. What is top n also you understood, top n and bottom n also you understood. The next one is here, right, since we have two columns here, two columns we use here, sales amount is less than. For numeric variable you will find less than, greater than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, all these kind of Boolean kinds of filters also you can use it, right. So greater than, less than, right, you can specify it. For example, is greater than, the sales amount is greater than 2,400, something like that. You can apply filter. Here I use top n. So what I do is I just go and clear this filter. Now let us work only with this one, okay. And what I do is I just select 2000 is greater than, okay, is less than, I mentioned, not less than. Okay, let us give one thing. So we'll try with some value. Okay, 2000 rupees, less than 2000. Okay, and apply filter. So less than 2000 sales, made in which all categories? Frozen foods and personal care and beverages. So likewise, right, you can apply filters using filters pane, but in the filters on this visual you can see top n, bottom n, right. So all those things you can use it. You have basic, advanced, top and bottom n features are available. End users can't do filtering. Yes, Radha's question is, can end users filter this? No. So once you publish it on the cloud, right, so they cannot do it here. This is for our purpose, we can do it, right. As a designer we can do it here, okay. See, the situations like this, if I wanted to filter the, for example, if I want the location dimension to filter product dimension, in that case you need to enable cross filtering, okay. But to overcome that we can use a measure, right. So you can use some DAX functions. You can use, you can using the filters on this visual, right, you can apply those measures for those two dimensions. For example, here, right, you can, for the location slicer and then the product slicer, what you can do is, so, where is the location? This is my location, right. So location, you go and you specify that the DAX function. The DAX function wherein we use the cross filter function. Using the cross filter function we are going to enable bidirection using both option, okay. So you need to specify both for the location as well as product, because you want to use the location dimension to or slicer to filter your product, right. So in that case you need to use it to avoid manually enabling the cross filter direction. Probably I'll show you in today's session if time permits, because couple of other topics also we discussed. Since I already discussed about cross filter direction, right, so I'm going to move ahead with explaining the sync slicer. We have something called sync slicer. Okay, before that let us finish the other filter types here, okay. So this is the visual level filter. First let me go and clear the filters whatever I applied it here. So here I just go and, so how do I clear this one? Click on this eraser icon, it will get cleared. Okay, fine. So now we don't have any more filters. I just already mistakenly I selected that. All the 5 categories are available. Okay, it should be available. that means filters got cleared. Okay, now we don't have any more filters. Good. Next we will see the other type of filter in this one, the filters pane, filters on this page. Now I just look here, here I just unselected filters on this page. Yeah, we have something called filters on this page. Category is all, location name is all, right? These are the things are available. Okay, fine. So now what I do is, now I wanted to explore what is filters on this page and what is filters on all pages. Now what I do is I just go and bring in the category here. We'll start with simple one. So when you expand this one, you will find only two options here, are basic filtering, advanced filtering. Same here. So for example, if I select any three of them here randomly, right, this filter get applied to all the visuals in this page. As the name says, filter, so it is pretty straightforward. But and also you have something called advanced filtering here. So using advanced filters, right, so already beverages, dry fruits and frozen foods. Okay, here what you do is here does not contain something like that, right? So you can apply something page level. This one will get applied to the all the visuals in this page except the for these cards. Okay, because here I have removed the filters. This we will discuss as part of DAX session. Okay, does not contain, yes, now does not contain frozen foods. Why it shows okay, is that still refreshing it? Advanced filtering is beverages and or is dry fruits. Okay, or that's the problem. And let me use, because of the or condition, here we have used many ands. Advanced filtering is beverages and is dry fruits. Okay, we cannot, let me do one thing here. Or if you want to select more than one, or contains, something like that, right? So you can specify contains dairy. You can use multiple different types of operators, and or, right? You can use different combination of and or to play around with this. Dairy, beverages, only these two got filtered. But here you cannot see top N, and top N option is not there. Page level filter, we don't see top N. Only basic and advanced level of filters are available as part of filters on this page, and filters on all pages the same thing. So whatever the filter that you configure it here or you set it here, that one will get applied to all the pages. Let's say in 10 pages you are using category related visuals, right? It will get filtered there also. Here also you have basic filtering, advanced filtering. There is no top N. One second, let me just select. requires single selection. Okay, there is something called single selection here. Let me just go and see. There are categories: beverages, dry fruits, and personal care only. And I'm going to select frozen foods now. Look here. So the moment when I selected here, it automatically filters, right? Across all the pages, it will get filtered. If you have similar visuals in other pages, right, related to category, it will get filtered there also. The same filter is occur. So now you understood the difference between the three types of filters. Filter on local visual, filters on pages, filters on all pages. Now you understood the difference between these two. So what is the difference between slicer and filter? The slicer is more user friendly compared to filter, but with filter we have lot of options. We can use the Boolean, we can do Boolean filtering, and we can use the top end. We can find out the top end and bottom end, right? You can find out with the filters. Though you have a lot of features are available as part of filtering, it is not much user friendly. You have to go and configure it. Okay, but when it comes here, right, it is very much user friendly. Though it has limitations, it is very much user friendly. Okay, so now we will proceed with sync slicer. So what is sync slicer? There are some scenarios. A single report might contain multiple pages. Let's say let's say there is a requirement, as per that we need to, in a single report we need to have 10 pages. We need to have it because everything we cannot, all visuals we cannot accommodate in a single page. Okay, so for that specific requirement, we need at least 10 pages. Like this one, page 3 and page 4. You can, by clicking on this plus sign, it will create new pages. Okay, 10 pages are required, and all the page 10 pages, I need the common slices. What are the common slices? For example, the date is common, and category and product, and location, right? These 4 slices I need it in all the 10 pages, or some of the 10 pages I need the common slices to be kept there. And whatever the selections I make it, let's say this is my main page or this is my first page, whatever the selections I make it, it should get synchronized across all the 10 pages slicer. So what is the solution? For example, I just copy this one. You just go and copy it, and you can go and copy paste it to 10 pages. It is time taking process, but there are some options are available. When you copy paste it, let's say here if I paste it, Control V, while pasting it, it is prompting me, right? So whether you want to sync or don't sync. You want to sync this slicer from your parent slicer, the previous page slicer. You want to sync up this one with this. If I enable it, it will get synchronized automatically. Fine. Let's say I am going to select sync here. Okay. If I go and select something here, beverages and frozen foods. If I select it and if I go to this page, beverages and frozen foods, whatever the selection I made it should be, it will get synchronized here. The same items got selected automatically. But I have 10 pages. Manually, if you have to copy paste it, it will take time. And also, if you forget to enable sync, you cannot find synchronization. The another issue is, for example, if I select something like frozen foods or personal care here, whatever I select it here, the same thing will get synchronized in the previous page. Frozen foods and look here. So whatever the selection I made in the second page got synchronized to my main page slicer. Okay, I don't want that to happen. Okay, so in that case I wanted to hide this one. Okay, so instead of copy pasting it manually, right, so we create the slices in a single page and reuse this slicer and synchronize the same slicer across all the pages or some of the other pages automatically. How to do that? Okay, I don't have to go to each and every page and copy paste it manually, and I don't want to enable sync manually. Is there any way I can, without going to each and every page, is there any way I can I can use this slicer and synchronize a copy across the pages without going to each pages? Yes, it is possible. You have something called sync slicer. With sync slicer you can do it. When you click on sync slicer, let's say if you go to view ribbon, you can find a sync slicer there. Here you can see the pages. See, in this case I am using multiple pages, lot of pages are there. Okay, here if you want, for example, in page 3, right, since I let's say I want, let's say page 3 and page 5 also, I need this slicer to be synchronized, and also it should be visible there also. It's pretty easier, right? So you have a centralized place wherein you can make selections quickly. So go and display there also. Or if you don't want this one to be visible there, but it should synchronize everywhere, because if I go to the second page, if I make a selection there, it is reflecting in my main page also or other page. So I don't want that to happen. Okay, let's say centrally, if I in the main page, whatever the filter I apply it should get synchronized to all the other pages. So in that case you can, why do you need, and also, right, if you want to save the space, I don't want to display the slicer here, duplicate of this every 10 pages. I don't want that to happen, right? So it consumes space. That from the space aspect also, right, to save space, what you can do is, first you need to select this visual and look here. Right? The next one is, what it is, you can disable this one. So this eye icon tells us hide, right? So you can show or hide. So this is by default, it is show, and I hide. I don't want to enable this one, I just hide it. But synchronize, when I make any selection in my this page, slicer page, the same filter has to be applied all these pages, page 3, page 5, page 4, automatically. It does that. Okay, now let us go and check it now, and I just go to the page, let's say page 5, right? Page 5, I just go here. Okay, here I have already created this visual. I just go and remove it. We have selected what? We have selected frozen foods and personal care. If I go to page 5, it should show the relevant data specific to frozen food and personal. Look here. Here we don't have the category slicer. This is hierarchical slicer. Okay, don't confuse with this one. I'm going to remove this one also. So now with this demo, you are able to understand what is sync slicer. Using sync slicer, we can save space and we can reuse the slices across the pages. Next, we will take a look at something called drill through.